My name is Steve Beeman. I'm the superintendent of the Vincent Parks Department. I want to thank everyone for being here this evening. Before we get started with the presentation, I just want to introduce some individuals who are in the audience. Steve Blanders from the Board of Works. And this is in no order, so don't be offended. Dave Raleigh, our city attorney. Mayor Yoakum, of course. Cheryl Hackman from the mayor's office, and Dan Revelette. TJ Briggs, city council. Dr. Frank Newberg, who's our park board president. Mr. Scott Brown, City Council, Chuck Sebring from the City Council, Shirley Rose, Dr. Bailey, and Mrs. Becky Vaughn from the Vincent Parks Board in the back. Thank everyone again. If someone is coming in, I apologize if I didn't get you. But we don't want to keep everyone here tonight for a long time, so we are going to proceed. What we wanted to do this evening is put all the information that we have accumulated over the past year and a half, 2 years, and bring everyone up to speed as we get ready to go into the start of the year with our fundraising and really make a push for the next 4 or 5 months before we get to that referendum in May. So, as you can see, I'm going to be speaking of just, I'm ready. You go right ahead. A little brief history of our facilities. The original Rainbow Beach was constructed in 1935, opened in 1930. I apologize. Before we get started, I apologize. It's been a very long week for myself. Shiloh Bean, the director of the Knox County Convention and Visitors Bureau, is here and would like to make an announcement briefly before we start. Sorry, Shiloh.
Good evening. Part of the Vincent Knox County CDB's mission is to enhance Knox County to create tourism, and we feel that part of enhancing Knox County would be getting the new pool. And so Steve came and spoke to the CDB board and then also the Knox County Tourism Commission, and we voted to make a pledge. And so Georgia Leonard is here, along with several board and commission members, and we would like to present our big pledge check to the city. Jerry's like,
First of all, I want all my board members to stand, please. Some of them are already standing. Okay. That, you know, we're here in support. Big time. So, CVB is offering, what they told me to say, CVB is offering a pledge of $25,000. The pledge following completion of successful special elections, and we expect that. So it is our pleasure from the CVB board to give to you $25,000. I expect each and every one of you to stand up and give a pledge to. No, thank you.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Greater amount.
We'll leave that up to maybe either make you feel bad and do something more, or but no, thank you very much. I received a phone call last week from Charlotte about this, and we wanted to wait till tonight, but I think it speaks volumes of the work that CVB does, and I don't want to speak for anyone in here, but we feel very strongly about the project, and we feel that as we start the fundraising in the next couple of weeks and the first of the year, that you'll see more of this dedication from the citizens of Vincennes and also Knox County, I think, to support this project. So again, thank you guys very much. I know that you are going to make some of you leave, so thank you again from all of us. Thank you. Now we'll go back. The history of the pool. The pool in 1936 cost about $80,000 roughly. It was through a bond and through a grant through the WPA. The pool The original pool went until about 1967, 68, and it was starting to have have some issues just like we are facing right now. The city formed a committee to look at options. They came up with the design that we have now, which is the Z-shaped facility. And just a little bit about the pool that we have. It is a 50-meter pool, which is something that is very, very unique in today's age. It has a shallow end for kids. It's got a baby pool, a dive well. It's been the home of the Sis Women's Tribe for the last 5 years. It's home of the swim teams practices, and they have their big swim meet each year. That is a huge success. Tony Mahan is here in the audience, and he's part of that swim team group. It has allowed a lot of individuals to use our pool for the past 42 years that wouldn't have someplace else to go. At the time when the pool was built, I mean, there was no Holiday World, there was no French Lick pool. Most people couldn't afford to have a swimming pool in their backyard. If you knew somebody that had a swimming pool, you probably thought they were rich. Things have kind of changed over the past 42 years to where a lot of people do have their own pools, but that doesn't lessen the need for the city to provide a swimming facility for its citizens and for its families to enjoy. The past 4 or 5 years, the pool has, I think, rapidly gotten to the point that it is now, to where it's declining. We're out of code on a lot of issues. We don't offer those things that families and grandparents like to take for kids. It's just a giant Z-shaped pool, 700,000 gallon, I think 52,000 square foot roughly of deck space. Not a lot of shade, probably not any shade. It just has, again, outlived its usefulness for us. We would hope that we could have tried to renovate and maybe keep the 50-meter aspect, but after doing some core samples of the pool and things like that, we came to the conclusion, into the, I think, realization that to move forward with this project, we were going to have to come up with a design that was going to be feasible for the needs and feasible for the tax impact for our citizens. I want to introduce Mayor Yoakum. He is going to speak about the city's vision of where we were and where we were going to go with this facility.
Steve? Thanks for being here. When I first became mayor, Steve approached me and was talking about the pool. I think he talked to the previous administration about the pool and the condition of the room. And I totally understand that the pool is an important part of this city. If we want to keep attracting new residents, we've got to have the amenities that they want. You know, besides schools and the hospital, we've got to have a pool to keep people here. Not only that, to keep our own citizens here. We've got people that are going to Washington, Petersburg, Princeton to use our facilities because they're a lot better than ours. What brought us to this point was, like I said, Steve said, the pool is 42 years old. We wanted to look at every possible option there was. We originally was looking at see if we couldn't refurbish what we had. Like Steve said, we did some core samples and found out that the pool was in worse shape than we thought. So we decided to move forward, and I've talked with other mayors and other communities that have went through this same process, and I talked with the former mayor of Washington, who built a new pool just a couple years ago. And he talked about doing a design-build process, and that's the process we decided to go with. I think it saved them close to $1 million in their community with their new pool. And with that process, we put a technical review committee together that's met several times and has come up with what you see here tonight. And I'm excited. I'm getting a lot of positive comments, and I hope we can get everybody behind this, support this when it comes up for referendum next May, and get this moving forward so we can have a new pool in 2014. And with that, I think Andy's going to come up and start presenting what the committee's come up with.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm Andy Mizak, local architect. We've been meeting with the Technical Review Committee, several members of the public. And what I'd like to do is just present the ideas that we've come up with. We've met with the swim team officials, the CIS triathlon officials, and several different people in the community to come up with this design. There are several amenities that we're looking at. We feel the new amenities that today's families are seeking are part of this overall design. It combines leisure areas and fitness and competitive swimming program spaces and several other ideas that have been voiced in the community. What we'd like to do, this slide shows some of the items that are included, but let's go through and look at the next slide. The next two slides basically show we're here in a 2D concept. What we'd like to do is go through this slide, go through the next slide, Cheryl, and we're going to bring up a 3D rendering. Nick, if you go ahead and show that, please. The new pool design incorporates a new pool area of approximately 8,200 square feet. This area. The pool is located in the same basic location that the Z-shaped pool is now. Utilizing that area that is excavated, it will save us some money in the long run as we build this new facility. We will have zero depth entry, which is basically a beach area included here. We've also incorporated concrete area, which will be a cool concrete area around the beach portion of this facility. So toddlers, small children can sit in that area and utilize this. There will be an 8-lane, 25-yard lap pool, which can be used by adults and can be also used for competitive swimming. We have included in this in the original, the base bid, I'm going to cover costs here in just a minute. We will have one slide with a platform that will allow for a future slide to be added very easily. In the zero depth entry area, there will be an interactive play feature. If you've been to Holiday World and seen the, I can't remember exactly what the name of that is, but it has a large tipping bucket, swimming slides, very nice interactive feature in this waiting area. We'll also have a small toddler-sized slide in that area. This area will actually tie into the lap pool portion of the pool. We're looking at one option of adding a lily pad walk that will have a netting above it and access for kids to utilize this area. We looked at an alternative climbing wall. If you've been out to the VU Aquatic Center, they have a climbing wall similar to this in place. Let's move over a little bit, Nick. We'll show them this design also incorporates 2 diving boards, a 1-meter diving board and a 3-meter diving board, which will be in the deep end of the pool. Move over just a little bit. This is the slide well area, which will be approximately 4 foot deep. We'll have the 2 flume type slides incorporated into that area. We also have, back up in this area right here, a spray park. This is approximately 1,600 square feet. It'll have several interactive features. Basically a mushroom area. If you can rotate it just a little bit, Nick, you can see areas to run through. There will be fountains that actually come up out of the concrete area. So it will be used for the younger kids or really kids of any age. One thing that was discussed was I think the mayor said, or maybe Steve said, that there was no area for shade. So one thing that we are incorporating into this are 3 shaded areas with sails, they're called. So we'd have a shaded area on each side of the pool, and an area between the wading pool and the splash park. One of the discussions we had with one of the mothers was that she would like to have this area here, so you could watch if you had 2 children at the facility, they could be at this, one could be at the splash park, one could be in the wading pool at the same time. The concrete deck around the pool is going to be approximately 36,000 square feet. We will incorporate a new chain link fence around the perimeter, a 6-foot chain link fence. There will be a new mechanical building that will be located at the back of the facility. It will have all the filter systems located in it. We also will incorporate a new bathhouse and concession stand and locker area. This is split into 2 different areas. This will be approximately a 1,200 square foot bathhouse and a 1,200 square foot concession stand. We'll also have offices for the lifeguards. In the exterior, we'll have lockers incorporated into this. Also included in this budget, we have site lighting, underground utilities, and out of the concession stand, one of the ideas that came up out of our meetings was to have the concession area available for the pool residents, but also for residents of Gregg Park. So what we did, we incorporated a window access, a small seating area located here. So people from Gregg Park could come up, buy concessions, and utilize that area. One feature that we also incorporated with this spray park, you'll notice from this view, when the pool is closed for the season, we could still keep the spray park open. So it could be open for another month after the pool closes. With this gated entry here, have access, close this gate, and that could actually be utilized for a longer period of time. That's fine. We can, and later, if someone wants to see this, we can go through this and take a look at it. The same images are shown on the 2D versions. I think there's some examples of them in the brochure also. But if you'd like to look at this later, we can do it. And what I'd like to do now is just go through the costs. Okay, we looked through the new pool. It said it was approximately 8,200 square feet. With 0 depth entry, the 8-lane 25-yard lap pool, slide well, filtration systems, lifeguard stands, everything that's included. An estimated cost of $1.3 million. In this original budget, the base bid, we have a new water slide, which will be 1 slide platform for the future slide, the interactive play feature and children's slide in the 0 entry area, a new spray park of approximately 1,600 square feet, the 1 and 3 meter diving boards, concrete decking, new shade structures, 3 of them as was shown on the plan. The black vinyl chain link fence. The mechanical building. This also includes demolition of the existing facility. Construction of the new bathhouse. It's going to be separated into 2 different areas, totaling 2,400 square feet. Site lighting, underground utilities, and then all the other amenities, deck chairs, lounge chairs, concession equipment. We have a subtotal of approximately $3 million for all these amenities. We have a contingency built in, approximately 10 to 15%. So the construction budget, we're looking at a range of $3.2 to $3.4 million for the facility. So there's been a lot of thought going into this, a lot of discussion, a lot of meetings. Afterwards, I think we're going to take questions and I'd like to have your input on this design and this idea also. This design offers something for everyone to enjoy. And by combining the competitive swimming, the entertainment value, instructional opportunities, the City of Vincennes will have will give guests a reason to visit this facility time and time again. So again, we will have questions and answers, I think, at the end of this. Right now, at this time, I'd like John Scott from Crow Horwath to come up and discuss the tax impact.
Good evening, I'm John Scott with Crow Horwath, and we are the city's financial advisor on this project. And I'd like to take just a moment to kind of discuss the tax impacts of this project and financing that and how that would affect the homeowners here in the city. As far as the bond ordinance that will be moving forward and what's being proposed here, we're looking at a maximum bond size of $3.8 million. The way that's been arrived at has been detailed here. As you saw what Andy did as he worked down through the cost, you saw that he had an average of about a little bit over 3.2 to a little bit over 3.4. If you take the midpoint of that, you're about $3.3 million. There would be some capitalized interest during the construction process where we would not be making principal payments or interest payments at that time. We would capitalize that interest cost. The cost of issuance and the cost of the financing would add another $200,000 or so to that, which would come up to a total bond issue size that we're looking at of $3.8 million, and that's the maximum bond issue size we're looking at. And then as the capitalized interest cost may change a bit as the financing is completed, it would affect how much money then is available for the project cost, but we feel like there's an adequate amount there to complete the major portions of the project. As far as the effect on average homeowner, we run two different scenarios. The first scenario we have here right now actually shows the effects of a maximum bond issue size of $3.8 million and the maximum interest that we would allow in the ordinance as well, which is a 6% interest. So as the bond moves forward, we would be proposing maximum bond size of $3.8 million, maximum interest that we would pay would be 6% annually. And then also, as you look at it, we would have a 20-year term to these bonds since they are property tax-backed bonds. What we did is we looked at the effect on four different households or house values, if you would. A house with a gross assessed value of $75,000, and then $100,000, $150,000, and then up to a gross assessed value of $200,000. So if that's what your assessed value is, you can kind of see where you may fall within these ranges here. But as you take your gross assessed value, what happens are there are certain deductions that come along with that as the property bill is being calculated. The first thing is the homestead credit, and that is the 60% of the gross assessed value, or $45,000. The lesser of those two amounts. And so for these four examples here, would be the $45,000 would be deducted from the gross assessed value. There's also a supplemental homestead credit, which is 35% of that remaining over the $45,000. There's an additional deduction for the supplemental homestead credit. And we've also assumed a mortgage deduction or a mortgage credit here as well on these scenarios. After those deductions, you come up with a net assessed valuation on a $75,000 assessed house. That net assessed valuation where taxes is paid on is $16,500. On a $200,000 home, it'd be about $97,750. So that would be the tax base. The estimated tax rate we have there is, again, based on a 20-year loan for $3.8 million at the maximum 6% rate. You can see on a $75,000 assessed value, that would be $12.84 per year. That is an annual cost for the financing of this pool project, $12.84 per year. On a $200,000 home, it'd be just slightly over $76 per year. What we then did is come back and run what we call a more realistic scenario given today's market and the economy that we're in right now. We do not, at this time, project that we'd be paying anywhere near the 6% interest rate. What we're looking at over the 20 years, and the way bonds sell, they sell by the year. So in the early years of the bonds, we believe that in the current market conditions, we have about a 1.8% interest rate rather than the 6% that was assumed in the last scenario. And then on the long bonds, the ones that were out to the 15 to 20 year range, we'd be only at 4.3%. Bonds are sold on a scale, so from the short term being about 1.8 and projecting out to 4.3, we believe this is a more realistic scenario The other one is, the other one I just showed you was the maximum scenario. For this scenario, the estimated tax payment annually for the $75,000 home would be less than $11, $10.71 per year. And on a $200,000 home, it'd be a little bit less than $63.50, the exact number $63.44. But we believe this scenario probably more reflects current market conditions if we were to go out now to issue those bonds as to what the effect of the tax bill would be for these four scenarios. So I know that I didn't have any 3D with the numbers moving around or anything. I really enjoyed the other slide about the amenities, but this really gets down to the cold hard facts of how it would be financed, and we believe this is a realistic scenario given the valuations of different homes. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff Quackenbush, and he can explain the referendum process and where we go from here.
Thank you, John, and thank you for having me here this evening. I met before the council a few months ago and walked them through a detailed timeline that included the design build process as well as the referendum process, so I won't go into great detail tonight, but I will just hit the highlights. As we've already said, we are in the design build phase. The request for qualifications has already gone out to companies across the state, and I know that there's been a lot of interest. I know Andy and some of his staff have been contacted. I've been contacted by various companies that have shown real interest in wanting to pursue this project. That process will continue without any commitment by the city or the Parks Department until after we get through the referendum process, but we need to get these individuals lined up because it is a multi-month process. So you will hear continual work going on with respect to that, but rest assured that there's no financial commitment being put to the city or to the Parks Department on this process until we get through the referendum process and see if we're successful. The next step from a legal standpoint that will actually take place is that on or about January 14th, I think we're still trying to finalize that date and time, there will be a joint public hearing of the Park Board and the City Council at which they will have a public hearing that will have much of the same presentation provided at that point in time. And then there will be a time period during which the community can offer input and ask questions. At the conclusion of that input public hearing, there will then be a decision made by the council and the park board of whether to proceed with the legal process through the referendum or to delay and then review further actions. If the council and the park board decide to proceed with the project and the financing at that point in time, then that will go on a special election ballot that is scheduled for May 7th, 2013. That election will be paid by the city. They can receive contributions and donations for that, and I know that they're in the process of looking at utilizing contributions to the extent those come in for that as opposed to using city dollars. But at the end of the day, they can also use some of the bond proceeds. You heard us talk about contingency. If the referendum is successful, they could use some of the money for that as well. During the next several months, there will be processes that will be done by the county election board. The question will be reviewed by the state to make sure it's done in a legal manner, and then that will get on a ballot, and then that will be the special election. There will be absentee ballots available for that as well. If the project and the financing are successfully approved by a majority of the voters that vote in that referendum, then that will proceed to the next phase, which will be the RFP, or the request for proposals phase. That will be a rather short period of time because we want to be able to award that by the summer of next year so that they can start work on that right away and hopefully have that facility, or at least a majority of that facility, open and ready for use by the late spring, early summer of 2014, as you've already heard. That is the legal process in a nutshell. During this same time, there will also be fundraising activities going on. And so while there will be the bond process, there will be the fundraising process. To the extent the fundraising dollars are committed and successful, that $3.8 million project cost that was assumed to be financed totally from bonds will potentially be reduced so that the funding dollars and the contribution dollars will offset the actual amount that's needed in bonds, and that will just translate into lower tax rates at the end of the day. So I will be around for further questions and as we go through this process. But with that, let me turn it back over to Steve, who I think will then allow you to ask any questions or comments. Thank you.
Well, I hope that there's a lot of information presented this evening. We'll take questions here in just a moment if anyone has any. And then also, once we conclude, if you'd like to speak privately with each one of us about something that you are thinking, that would be fine too. You know, the last year and a half we've been very, very busy, like I said, just the last couple of months trying to get all this ready that we can present. You saw in your chair we have a brochure that we have made from Ewing Printing. We want to thank them. We have a website that is live now. It is www.rainbowbeachfamilyaquatic.com. And I want to thank Tim Trotter of Tower Bridge. They did that for us for free. It's a great website. It will provide a lot of information. We've got a Facebook page. We have one for the parks. We have one for Rainbow Beach. We have a Twitter account, which is at Rainbow Beach 3. If you want to sign up and do that. We are putting all this together so we can, like I said, really attack the fundraising issue as we get into the first of the year. I know we've had some comments of why we haven't done anything up to now. I think the main reason that we've kind of waited is one, for tonight to get all this information together that we can present. It had been very easy for us to go out and ask for, can you give? And I think the first question out of each person's mouth would be, well, what's the pool going to cost and how's it going to affect me, my tax impact? And until we had those numbers, we just thought we would wait. It was very nice with the CBB, but we've also had some funds before. Last year, Dr. Emmert was very gracious to start us at that time with a $10,000 donation. We've had some smaller ones come in, but we have a group that is hopefully going to grow by leaps and bounds as we get going in the first of the year. We don't have specific fundraising things in place, but we're working the first of the year to have a meeting with anyone, and we'll get that information out. But if anybody wants to join and help us with this, this is going to take not just the large corporations in town and the businesses and things. We need everyone to get involved. We need everyone in Knox County. Even though they may not vote and be able to say yes or no, they can say yes or no by their actions of giving us funds and giving us support as we get into March and April when we start going door to door and trying to get everyone the knowledge that come May 7th we're going to need to vote. We hope, like I said, that tonight has given you some idea of where we're at, kind of why we chose this design. Like Mr. Mizak said, it wasn't something that we just threw together because this is what we wanted. I think we first dealt with the community. Once we found out that the 50-meter aspect, which I think Mayor Yoakum tried and my board tried very, very hard to keep, and we realized that this is the way we had to go. We tried to get a lot of individuals. We had a couple public hearings, but it was out there in the paper and in the radio, and we've talked to a lot of people about, do you like this, do you not like that? This isn't going to be perfect. I mean, everyone has their idea of what they want the facility to be or could be. I think it came down from my board, from the mayor and the city council, that we have got to provide a facility that, one, is going to meet the needs of the community, but two, at a price that's going to be feasible. In 1970, when they built the pool that we have now, it had an occupancy load of about 2,000. This one, I think, Andy, we're around 800, about 900. That's still huge. We just don't need a pool that's going to, hold 2,000 people now. Pools are trending to what we have shown here. I think once it's built and you look at it, and not just because we're biased, but I think it's a very wonderful facility. It's going to provide for the next 35 years. So if you have any questions, if you want to stand up, give your name and direct, was it myself or the mayor, Mr. Mizak, Mr. Faulkner, Mr. Scott, we'd be more than happy to answer those questions at this time. And if no one does, then we can adjourn here. But does anyone have any questions regarding the why we've got this or where we're at? Pardon me? Yeah, it doesn't have to be a question. If you want to say that you think this is a good facility or design, or if you're opposed, that's fine. This is what we wanted to have with this meeting, and then obviously the one in January, which is going to be the official public hearing. But we've tried to be very transparent and very open through this whole process to allow the individuals the opportunity to make comment. Okay. So I want to thank.
I'm Nancy Hensel, and I've been involved in the CIS Women's Triathlon, and I guess I just want to state that I believe that we should consider a 50-meter pool. And I think that, I know that you've had meetings with people. I was involved in a meeting back when Mayor Baldwin kind of assured the committee that that 50-meter pool would stay. And sort of over the next few years, there's been a change in perspective there. But and there have been many attempts of some of us to raise funds, and every time we were ready to go, somebody said, no, hold on. And I actually sort of, my sense of things now, and of course I don't know for sure, but my sense of things is that there had been a decision that there wouldn't be a 50-meter pool, and so they did want some of us going out to raise funds with that as a possibility. So I guess I just feel like I need to say, I think it's a little short-sighted to not consider a 50-meter pool because that eliminates summer swim teams. The triathlon will be impacted by it. And if you are aware, I believe that the triathlon has had a tremendous impact on the well-being of this community because there are women that are now running, swimming, biking. There are kids that are running, swimming, and biking. There are, as one person said, there isn't a weekend practically that you couldn't go out and do a 5K run or something because so many more people are now doing those kinds of things. And I believe it's been a direct impact or a result of that triathlon getting people out and doing things. You know, sometimes you say, oh, we don't have money for it, but you know, we're in a sort of a decline in our economy right now, but that isn't going to last. I mean, it's cyclical. It kind of comes and goes, and I think it's a little short-sighted to say, oh, well, we don't have the money. I think we have to sort of figure out how to get the money. So that's what I kind of wanted to say, and I guess I want to add one other thing. Over the last 6 years, 700, I'll see how important this is. Over the last 6 years, 794 women have done the triathlon. Individual women have done it. And many of them have done it more than once. And I think that we need to know that's a pretty impressive figure, that many women have done that triathlon. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. What we have been trying to do from day one is that we've worked hand in hand with the triathlon and with the swim team as the park board, allowing them opportunities to use our pool at free or reduced cost. And I hope all the members of the tri and the swim team realize that we really did, I think, try in the best interest of them to address those needs and do the 50-meter. The 50-meter was an aspect that was unique to Rainbow Beach the past 42 years. I don't want to speak for the mayor or for members of the city council, but I think for my board, we looked at all those options and the decision came down to, and I don't think it was short-sighted on our part, it was trying to be economically feasible for the community to provide a swim facility for everyone. The swim team and the tri are two groups that in the scope of a summer of 11 weeks use the facility very rarely. Now the swim team uses it, I know, every day, and the tri ladies come in and lap swim, but we were basing the decision for the next 35, 40 years of a facility on the community as a whole and not on two groups that maybe use the pool 10% of the time. we do feel very bad that we couldn't, I think, come to a 50-meter pool. We thought, I think, our board, that we were doing what was going to be best for the community financially. I don't want to throw numbers out, but just to add the 50-meter, which basically is 25 yards more of water volume, would be about $1.5 million just onto the cost. And then also, that in itself is large, but then on our daily operating costs, and again, we don't have exact numbers because what we have now and compared to what we're going to have is apples and oranges, but from just what we do know, double the volume of water is double the circulation, double the pumps, double the filtration, and then our guards and things like that. So, I mean, it was a culmination of all these things that we tried to look at. Again, there wasn't a day that has gone by since we started this that we didn't try to get the 50 meters. So I hope your group didn't think that it was something that we were doing behind closed doors. And, you know, the fundraising thing, I apologize. I mean, I guess you can blame me. It was just something that we wanted to wait till we had that information. We would have been happy to take any monies that had come in prior to that. I mean, believe me, we need every dime we can get. But I hope as a whole, as people go out and you talk to your friends and neighbors and family as we move forward, that you will take to heart that this facility that we want to provide is going to be for everyone. It's going to affect the swim team. Again, it's a group that really we want to be able to help down the road with. You know, this was their fundraiser. They can still do competitive meets. They won't be able to do the state qualifier, which is what their 50-meter was, because it's a long course. But I've looked at Newton and Salem and Lebanon and places that have smaller facilities than what they used to, the 50. They still have active swim teams. The Tri will still be welcomed back with open arms, and we'll do everything we can in 2014 if we have a facility. So again, I apologize to the Tri group and the swim team. We've tried our best to keep the 50. I think we just made a financial decision that we thought this was the best route to go. Does anyone else have a comment or would like to address anything? Oh.
Share the first speakers as a parent, swim team members. I share some disappointment about the 50-meter pool. That being said, I fully support what you're trying to do. I think what you're trying to do is really important to this community. I think it's a quality of life issue. I think this community has to do something. We have to move this community forward. We have to do positive things in this community to keep residents and attract new residents. Community needs to get behind this project. I've been frustrated, and I didn't write a letter to the editor because a wise man once told me never criticize a folks who buy ink by the barrel. But the paper's editorial about the lack of fundraising, I think is really missed the boat. I think it's really difficult for this community to pledge money. And for me, I've wanted to donate money, but it's real difficult. And I said that at the last meeting. How are we going to ask people to donate money to a project that isn't defined, that may or may not happen? It's like, hey, we may start a charity, and this charity may do some positive things, but make your donations to this charity that doesn't even exist. You're not going to raise any money. So to just think, when the newspaper had this, they think people are just going to write checks, to an undefined, uncertain thing, which is just crazy. But now we've got to define things. It's not what I want, but it's positive. It's moving this community forward. You've done a nice thing with this pledge cards. And it's a pledge to donate money if the election is successful. And I want to be the first person to fill out a pledge card, and I'm pledging $1,500 towards this project if the election is successful.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have a comment? Mr. Trotter?
Steve, Tim Trotter. I know it's a little presumptuous, but the marketing guys at the office wanted to have me ask, when you decide on the color of the donor wall tile, it be a light color so that our logo shows up. Why? Not why, just like. Thank you guys.
That could be
Done a
done.
great job, and yeah, I support it.
Thank you. I think,
I can't promise anything like the CBD, but I'm Brad Heath from WFML and WNW, and I pledge that as soon as completion, we'll take care of putting in the sound system for the pool. So we'll take care of that.
Steve, can I try and one up Brad real quick? We're going to do internet to the pool.
Everybody that knows me knows that I like bigger and better in pretty much anything that I do. And so as the board president, I pushed really hard to try to come up with a 50-meter pool. Now, the thing that the board, and I'm kind of speaking in general terms about how we came to that decision, you put that pool in, even if you had somebody donate the money, you still have to maintain that pool. It costs way over twice as much to maintain it on a yearly basis. We have to go before the city council and ask them for money every year to maintain that. Well, in general, we felt like that it would be much more palatable for the citizens of Vincennes not to be having to pay an absorbent amount, for just maintenance on a 50-meter pool. Bitter pill for me to swallow, because I was major league in favor of it. Realistically, the city of Vincennes would be much better served. It would be much easier for everyone to accept a pool that has 25. You're just going to have to turn twice as much. But unfortunately, you can't meet the state qualification. And that's the big bite in the butt. But the maintenance aspect of this pool is major league. It's really not fair to ask everybody else, for part of their tax dollars to go for something, when it's just going to be it's almost exorbitant to have it. It was costing them so much money. We were losing so much money every year with the 50-meter pool that we had. And with one that was actually well maintained, it still is going to cost a lot of money. So with that in mind, the board came to the decision that it would be much better to, just accept the fact that the 25-meter pool probably would serve more people and would be less of a tax bite for the citizens. And that's how we came to that. So we wanted to be fair to everybody, without it, impacting negatively. If you came up with a 50-meter pool and you had a lot of people, what we want to do is get this pool. Everybody's got to vote on it. And if we came up with something that was going to be so exorbitantly, costly to maintain, we would have a tough time actually getting people to vote on it. So realistically, we just kind of said, I hate to do it, but the 25-meter would probably be something that Vincennes would be best at. That's how we came to the decision. Again, I'm all over the 50 meters, so make it out. But,
Brad, did I hear correctly, you need 25 yard, 25 meters?
the 25 yard, it's a 50 meter, but I think the state went to 25. I think, Tony,
Summer swim season is based, all the time standards are based on 50 meters. So we're looking at practice there. As president of the swim team, we're obviously disappointed not to be able to do that because that was our fundraiser for the year. We didn't have to do it. We did one other one a couple years ago, but unfortunately, it's not going to be that way. We don't have $1.5 million to
physical practice. It'll, be a great facility to practice in. So we're going to do some other fundraising. So when the swimmer comes to your door, please help us out. We're going to start off this January selling trash bags. So keep that in mind when we come around and ask for donations and selling trash bags. But sometimes you may want a Cadillac or a BMW, but you can only afford a Chevrolet. That's what you got to run with and make the best of it.
Peter Skinner.
My name is Dave Skinner, and early on I was involved in this process with Steve, and I was one of the co-founders of the local swim team, and now I was president for 5 years, and Tony's taken over, and we've got a great board in place. I'll tell you, the 50-meter pool idea is dying. I mean, I've been in swimming since I was a little kid, a competitive swimmer. I'm real involved in sports still. It's just not practical. And I told Steve that from the beginning. I was much more in favor of this, even though it's a real detriment to the swim team, because there was a huge fundraiser for our club, and it was the only fundraiser. And it was also, we hosted the largest swim meet in the state every summer, and it was great for the community, great for the hotels and restaurants. But moving forward, a facility like this is what's going to please families and kids, and it's going to be more cost effective, and it's going to make our community look a lot better than just this dying breed of big 50-meter pools. And so, as a swimmer my whole life, I'm very involved in sport. A lot of my kids that are very involved in sport, and I help resurrect swimming in this community. This is the way to go, and hopefully we can really get the community behind this and kind of do the same push that we did for the middle school project. And the costs are minimal. It's going to be easy to raise the funds for it. I mean, already we've got people. I think I'm going to wind up being $1 on that. Anyway, so and I think we're going to effectively raise a lot of money. We're going to have to do a lot of this year, and we've got great counsel like Jeff Markowitz and all of that. So we've got some good people that are involved in this project, and you guys have done a hell of a job putting this thing together. So anyway, as a former board member and president founder of the local swim team, I think the swim team will be fine. 50-meter racing in the long course summer seasons kind of slowing down. Kids aren't participating as much in the long course season. It's a very short season, so one meet is not going to really make that much difference. And even the triathlon, I mean, they have a wonderful event, but it's just one event. And I think this is going to attract thousands of people that Rainbow Beach used to attract. So, thank you.
Anyone else have a comment or a question? Well, thank you again for coming tonight. This is going to be the last time, honestly, you hear this. We've got 5 months, roughly, I think, till May 7th. We are going to be going very, very hard. You may not get sick of hearing about it, but just to tag on what Skinner said, a lot of you have said, this is a very, I think, important project for us. It's something that is doable for the city. It will have an impact, not just tomorrow and next year, but for the next, like we said, 35, 40 years. And what I've tried to say from day one when we did this was in 1935, there was a group of individuals in Vincennes that first thought of this. It had to be done then. And in 1966, 67, the same thing happened. There was a group of concerned citizens that took on an issue of an aging pool and what to do. And believe me, if you, again, I mentioned the photo albums we have, there was a lot of discussion back in 67, 68 of what kind of pool. Do we keep the round pool? Do we build a bigger pool? Do we even move it from Great Park? And now here we are 42 years later doing the same thing. I think, like Mr. Skinner also said, that I think that this will pass. I think that we have a lot of individuals that want this pool. I think the tax impact numbers, believe me, nobody wants their taxes to be raised. But for a $100,000 home within the city limits, $25, I think is what it said, $2 a month, roughly. I think that's very doable for something that's going to have a huge impact such a long period ahead of us. So again, I'll stop and thank everyone. If you want to get involved on any level, we have sign-up sheets, the website I told you about. You can call us. Believe me, we won't turn anybody away. Thank you all for coming tonight.